Hi there everyone, this is Jason Ho from Fast Pass Driving Academy. Today I'm going to teach you my signature 1-2 hold gas method for simple left and right turns. Okay, let's go. Okay, so we're going to talk about hand position. We're going to do hand over hand steering. You're going to start at this position, we call it 10 and 2. So if you think of an analog clock, if you put your finger at 10 p.m. and at 2 p.m. So this is how you align up your car. So now when you're doing the turn, you're going to pull the wheel around. You're pointing down with your left hand. So you point it down for a left turn. Once it gets to the bottom, you're going to put it up at top at 12 o'clock. And then you're going to pull the wheel around and put your hands back at 10 and 2. So you always kind of want to keep the same distance, 10 and 2. So here we go, pull it around. Now I'm putting my hand on top at 12 o'clock and pulling it back to 10 and 2. And it works both ways. So if you're going the opposite way, same idea. Hand gets to the bottom, put it at 12 o'clock, and then 10 and 2. 12 o'clock, 10 and 2. Just like that. Okay, so when you're making a left turn, you want to make sure that your shoulder passes the end of the curb. You want to make sure you go far enough into the intersection so that you're not cutting the corner. And you want to make sure you're going into the right lane, not in the left lane. We're going to go past the curb right here, and we start a turn. 1, 2, hold, gas. I didn't even hit over 15 kilometers an hour there until the end. So once I was 90% of the way through the turn, then I applied the gas, because when you hit the gas, it's going to push the car in the direction that you're already going. So if you've turned too far, if you've oversteered, then you're going to head into the left or the right, right? So you could be heading into the curb, or you could be heading into the roadway. So you want to make sure that you don't turn too much. You don't want to oversteer. You just want to turn just enough, right? So most people think you need to turn so much, but really, you just have to turn the wheel 180 degrees. Very simple. So the part that people sometimes find difficult at first is the glide. So you really want the steering wheel to run against your fingers. But I mean, most people when they're starting out, they're kind of afraid, right? They're worried they're gonna hit cars or objects or the curb, right? But you really have to kind of trust that the car is gonna come back to you when you add the acceleration. So you want to glide. You just want to kind of you want to hear this kind of sound. You want to hear the wheel just run against your fingers. So gently run against your fingers. So here we go, as we do the turn, I'm passing the curb. 1, 2, hold, and then when I apply the gas, 90%, you hear that sound. Shh. That's the sound I love to hear. It's my favorite sound in the world. So when you hear that sound, you know you've done it right. So most people will tend to want to hold or grip the wheel. You know, some people call it letting go. I don't really call it letting go, but you do want to release your grip on it. To a certain extent, you want to be able to have control of it, but you don't want to be gripping so tightly to the wheel that you can't change the direction. But yeah, that's the glide. That's the sound I want to hear. Okay, so now I talked about the gas part of the 1-2 hold gas method. So you do have to make sure that you apply the gas, right? So the car is not moving right now, it's stationary. So if I turn the wheel, what happens? It comes back a little bit, but doesn't come back all the way. It stops. But as soon as you apply the gas, after you've turned, the wheel automatically comes back. So the slower you do it, the slower the wheel will come back. Right? If you speed up, so I'm doing about 14 kilometers an hour right now. I'm not going very fast, but it comes back much quicker. So if you're only doing 5 or 6 kilometers an hour, it's gonna come back very slowly. So you want to do at least 7 kilometers an hour. So you want to go over 6 kilometers an hour. Ideally, you want to do at least 10 kilometers an hour. When you're first starting out, you may be a little bit nervous. You may be a little bit scared. Take your time, but when you move up to it and you get better, you want to make sure that you're hitting the gas and going at least 7 kilometers an hour. You don't want to be going much more than 15 or 20, but that's about it. Now I'm doing 11 kilometers an hour, 15, up to 20 kilometers an hour. Nice and smooth, very reliable. So a lot of people, when they're starting out, they do what I call the steering wheel shimmy. And they sort of kind of just they kind of pull the wheel around and they don't really have much control over it. It's not very safe. I don't recommend it. I instead recommend is the 1-2 hold gas method. It is considered the safest steering as long as you do it correctly. If you don't do it correctly, I can see why it's not allowed in some countries. Now, if you cross your hands like this is not very safe. You don't want to be driving like this ever. So you want to make sure that once you get to the bottom, you put it on top and you don't keep it there for a long time. You just really want to, just for a second, you're crossing over your hands and that's it. That way it keeps it safe. You don't want to do this. Definitely don't want to do this. That's very dangerous and unsafe. But once you do it right, it's very smooth, it's very safe. So now we're going to do right turns. So now everyone's got the left turns down. The left turns are a little bit easier. Most people find right turns a little bit more difficult than left turns because you have a little bit further to see. It's not as easy to see. And people tend to hit the curb if they don't know how to steer properly. So as long as you're using the 1-2 hold method, you shouldn't have any problem. So you don't want to oversteer the curb because once you add the gas, you're going to go right into the curb if you've oversteered. So we're going to come to the stop sign right here. We're going to stop. We're going to look both ways. Once it's clear, we're going to head out and just as we pass the curb, 1, 2, hold, gas. And that's it. It's just a slight turn. You don't really need to turn a whole lot. It's even a slightly less than the left turn. It's a very delicate turn and you have to make sure that you do it well. Because if you don't, you're going to hit the curb and you're going to be very frustrated. It does take a little bit of practice. You know, once you have an instructor teaching you, you're going to understand. It does take a little bit of practice. But once you get the idea and the hang of it, you're going to be great for life.